If you've ever written a line of Python, you know that feeling, right? You've got what looks like perfect code, you hit run and bam, syntax error. It's so frustrating and super cryptic. But what if I told you that error message isn't just noise? What if it's a clue, part of a secret language between you and your computer? Okay, so let's really get into this. We're going to crack the code behind why your code crashes. Think of this explainer like a little detective story. We're going to uncover the hidden logic, decode the clues, and finally figure out why Python is so darn picky about the names we give things. So our first clue is figuring out what an identifier even is. And honestly, it's simple. It's the name of anything you create in your code. You see it here, whether it's a variable, a function, a class, whatever, its name is its ID card. It's the one and only label the machine uses to find that specific thing in its massive memory. No ID card, no access. Simple as that.
Now, to get a valid ID card in the Python universe, you've got to follow the law. And trust me, the law is strict. So, this first part of our investigation is all about learning the fundamental alphabet, the basic rules that govern every single name you write.
And here are the do's and don'ts laid out plain and simple. Over on the left, in green, you've got your legal building blocks. Letters, numbers, though there's a big condition on that we'll get to, and the underscore, which is kind of our special connector. Then on the right, you've got the forbidden zone. Special symbols, spaces, hyphens, all of that stuff is reserved for other jobs, like doing math. If you try to use them in a name, you're breaking the law.
So let's look at a perfectly legal identifier, underscore myvar123. This visual breaks it right down. Rule number 1, it has to start with a letter or an underscore. Yep, we're good. Rule 2, numbers are totally fine, just not at the very beginning. Check. Rule 3, no illegal characters like spaces. We used underscores to link the words. Perfect. And Rule 4, we didn't use a protected keyword. It's clean, it's legal, and most importantly, it works.
All right, now we know the law, so it's time to visit some crime scenes. We're going to look at what happens when these rules get broken, and even better, how Python's error messages give us the exact clues we need to solve the case.
Let's open our first case file. This one is a classic, a mistake that tons of programmers make when they're starting out. I call it the number barrier. You know, what's so interesting here is why this code crashes. When the Python compiler sees a 1, its brain immediately thinks, okay, number. But then it sees a V right after it, and it just panics. It doesn't see an invalid name, it sees a broken number. And check this out, Python gives you a huge clue. That little caret symbol, the @ pointing directly at the V, it's telling you right here, this is where my brain broke. So the verdict on this one is simple. An identifier absolutely, positively cannot start with a number. This rule just helps the whole system work faster and more efficiently. Case closed.
Okay, let's move on to our next case. This one's called the math illusion, and it's all about characters that look harmless to us but cause total confusion for the machine.
Just take a look at this. To you or me, my dash variable looks like one name, but to Python, that hyphen means one thing and one thing only, subtraction. It literally sees my minus variable. You can't assign a value to a math problem. Same goes for the @ symbol. That's reserved for something called decorators. And notice again, Python's little helper, that caret, points right at the illegal character, the scene of the crime.
The verdict is in. You just can't use special symbols or hyphens in your names because, well, they already have jobs to do. They're reserved for operations, and trying to use them as a name just completely breaks the grammar of the language.
Our third case file deals with what is probably the most common syntax error for beginners. It's a simple one, but it's deadly. Let's call it the void of space.
This slide just illustrates the problem perfectly. For us humans, a space separates words. But for the compiler, a space is a hard stop. It ends the command. So when it sees my variable, it just sees the word my, then a full stop, then this other random word variable. The whole command chain is broken. The fix? The underscore. It's like a bridge that tricks the machine into seeing one single continuous word while still being readable for us.
And the verdict is clear as day. A space is a command terminator. To connect words into a single identifier, you have to use an underscore. It's the only legal bridge across that void.
All right, time for our final and maybe most important case file. This is about a group of words that are so important they've got VIP status. They are completely off limits. These are the reserved keywords.
Words like class, del, if, for.
These are the actual structural pillars of the Python language. I mean, they're protected with absolute immunity. Think about it. If you could just decide that the word class is now a variable, the entire language would forget how to create objects. It would be total chaos. And as always, the trusty caret shows you exactly where you've trespassed on protected ground.
So the final verdict of our whole investigation is a really simple one. Reserved keywords, not for you. They are the language's private property, and you cannot use them as your variable names. End of story.
Okay, our crime scene investigation is officially over. We know the laws, but here's the thing. Just because your code is legal doesn't mean it's good. So now we need to pivot and talk about the two very different audiences you are always writing for, the machine and the human. Let's start with a classic example of how a machine thinks, case sensitivity. As you can see here, false with a capital F is one of those VIP keywords. It has a very specific meaning. But false with a lowercase f, to Python, that's just some random meaningless name it's never seen before. This is so crucial to get. My_var, my_var, and my_var are three completely, totally different things in the machine's memory. And this really brings us to the central problem of all programming. On one hand, you have the machine, which demands rigid, strict logical rules. It's perfectly happy with a variable named x. But on the other side, you have the human, and that human might be you in 6 months or your teammate next week. They need context. They need a story. They need to look at user age and know instantly what it represents.
So let's wrap this all up by talking about what it means to go from just writing code that works to writing code that is clean, descriptive, and frankly, professional.
And this brings us to the final and most important takeaway of all. On the left, you see x1 equals 25. Is that valid? Yep. Does it run? Sure does. Is it good code? Absolutely not. It has zero context. But on the right, user_age equals 25. It's clean, it's readable, it's descriptive. Good naming isn't just about avoiding those red error messages. It's a professional courtesy to your team and honestly, to your future self.
So as you go forward, just remember that every variable, every function, every single identifier you name is another sentence and a larger story. The machine is only ever going to read the syntax, but people read the meaning. So the question I want to leave you with is this. Your code tells a story. What is yours going to say?